Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you're shopping in an English-speaking place. Maybe you have like a pasty donut in a paper bag, right? And you get to the cashier. They say something quickly. You don't quite get it. And you feel that pressure, to keep things moving. So you just smile and say yes, hoping you got it right. But then the cashier looks confused, maybe even sort of peers into your bag. What do you just say yes to? Were they asking about the donut? The bag? Or maybe, as one person shared online from their real experience, were they asking if you wanted to make a donation? That moment of uncertainty, that potential unintended commitment, it's such a classic scenario when you're navigating shopping in a new language. Welcome to Daily English Practice, Listen, and Speak. Today's deep dive English for shopping is all about tackling those real world moments. We've gathered insights from a whole stack of sources, language guides, practice dialogues, and yeah, there's really relatable online stories from other learners to pull out the essential language and the crucial insights you need to feel more confident, from the moment you step into a store right until you leave.
That opening scenario, it really captures the challenge, doesn't it? Shopping seems simple on the surface, but it's packed with these quick interactions and very specific vocabulary. And feeling overwhelmed, especially in bigger places like supermarkets or, department stores, that's incredibly common when you're still getting the hang of English.
Absolutely. And just navigating those aisles, finding what you actually need, that's hurdle number one, right? So, what do our sources recommend for cutting through that initial confusion, getting started?
Well, the key insight here, and this comes up a lot in what learners share, is actually pretty simple. Ask for help. Don't just wander around hoping to stumble upon it.
Yeah.
The sources, they all highlight clear, polite ways to approach staff. You can use phrases like, "Excuse me, I'm looking for," and then just name the item. Could be something everyday like bread or shampoo, or maybe something specific like a phone charger.
Okay, so, excuse me, I'm looking for the shampoo. Nice and straightforward.
Exactly. Or if you're looking for a whole section, you could say, "Where can I find the," and then the department name. So you might ask, "Where can I find the lingerie department?"
Mm.
Or maybe, "Where can I find the section with winter coats?"
Right.
For fresh stuff, like fruit or vegetables, you can try, "Do you have any fresh," whatever it is.
Mm.
And if you see an empty spot on the shelf where something should be, "Is this product still in stock?" That's a really useful one.
Okay. That covers asking when you know the name or the department. But what if you don't actually know the word for the thing you need? Like, I'm thinking of that round, flat metal thing you bake cookies on. You know what it looks like, but maybe not the word baking sheet.
Ah, yeah, that's a great point. And this is a really crucial insight from the sources that focus on practical communication.
Hmm.
Don't let not knowing the perfect word stop you. Describe it. Use details about how it looks, its size, or even what you use it for. So you could say, "I am looking for a small bottle of chili sauce." The size is the important part. Or maybe you see something you like, but want it packaged differently. "Do you have this in a box?" And for your baking example, you could try, "I'm looking for something round used for baking." Or even, "It's a flat metal tray for putting cookies on." Staff are usually pretty good at figuring out descriptions.
That's really helpful. Yeah. Focusing on describing it when the exact word just isn't there. What about all the signs everywhere in a store? They can be a bit of a blur, can't they? Especially in a new language.
They really can.
Yeah.
And missing key info on signs or labels, that's a common pitfall you see mentioned in learner experiences.
Mm,
Our sources point out some essential signs to recognize. Promotion is a big one. That means a special deal or a discount.
good to know.
Expiry date, vital for food,
Yeah.
obviously, tells you when it's no longer good to eat. And net weight tells you how much of the actual product is inside the packaging, not including the box or jar itself.
Okay, got it. Promotion, expiry date, net weight. But what if I see a sign or maybe something on a label and it's just totally confusing?
Yeah, another practical tip from the guides. Just ask, don't guess. You can simply say, "Can you help me read this label?" Or maybe, "What does this word mean?" It's much better to take a moment and clarify than to, you know, buy something based on a misunderstanding.
Agreed. Definitely. And sometimes, you're not actually on a specific mission. You're just looking around, maybe killing time. What do you say if a shop assistant comes up to you, though?
Ah, yeah. A very polite and standard response. You find this in lots of practice dialogues. It's just, "I'm just looking, thanks."
Oh.
It signals you don't need help right then, but you appreciate them asking. Okay, so that sort of gets you started finding things, navigating the general store environment. But shopping for clothes, or maybe shoes, well, that brings in a whole other set of very specific interactions and words.
It really does. You usually can't just point and buy, can you? You need to be sure it fits. And for that, you need
The fitting room.
Yes.
Yes, the sources definitely highlight this as a key location. Before you just walk in, though, you'll generally need to ask permission, or at least signal you want to try something on.
How do you phrase that then?
Well, could I try this on? Works great for a single item, like a shirt or a jacket. If you have a few things, or maybe you're trying on shoes, because you tried these shoes on, plural, you'd say, could I try these on?
Yeah, this versus these. Got it.
Exactly. And you might also need to ask, do you have a fitting room? Or where's the fitting room? If it's not obvious where to go.
All right, so you're ready to try stuff on. Then comes the universal challenge. Sizes are different everywhere.
Oh, they really are. And the staff will likely ask you about it. Common questions are things like, what size are you? Or maybe, what size do you take? You'll need to be ready to respond with, I take a size, and then state your size, whether that's a number or maybe letters like S, M, L, XL.
And if the item you picked up isn't actually your size,
Then you'll need to ask if they have the right one.
yeah.
Do you have this in a size for one item? Or do you have these in a size for multiple things or shoes? And that same structure works perfectly for colors too. Do you have this in? Say blue.
Okay, so you're in the fitting room, or maybe you got the shoes on your feet. How do you talk about how it fits or how it feels?
Right. The assistant might prompt you with questions like, is that a good fit? Or maybe for shoes. How do they feel? Or do they feel comfortable? You need the words to respond. If it's too small, you can say, it's much too small. Or maybe a bit less dramatic, it's a little too small. And the opposite, it's much too big. Or just, it's a little too big.
And hopefully the best case scenario.
Yes, it's just right. Or they're just right. That's what you're aiming for. If it's completely wrong, a simple, it doesn't fit, or they don't fit, works. And if the assistant thinks it looks good on you, they might say something encouraging like, it suits you, or they suit you.
That's helpful feedback to understand, yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's not quite right but close, you need to ask for a different size.
Exactly. Have you got this in a smaller size, or have you got this in a larger size? Those are the key phrases to get the next size up or down.
Perfect. So you've found the item, you've confirmed the size, the color, it looks great. You've decided, yes, I want this. What do you actually say?
Nice and simple, just like the guides recommend.
Yeah.
I'll take it, for one thing. Or I'll take them if it's multiple items or, shoes.
Wonderful. Okay, we found it, tried it on, decided to buy. Now, we arrive back at the checkout, bringing us full circle to that tricky donut moment. Let's really dig into that scenario again. What were the most likely things that cashier might have been asking that caused all that confusion?
Yeah, that specific online thread about the donut moment was really interesting because it showed just how many simple, everyday questions can sound confusing if you're not expecting them. Or maybe the cashier speaks really fast. The most common suggestions were things just confirming the purchase. Like, just this, meaning, is this the only thing you're buying today?
Right.
Or maybe confirming the specific item, especially if there are similar things like, say, donuts and bagels that might look alike but have different prices or codes. And also confirming the quantity, like just one, if you only have a single item.
Ah, okay. So even really simple yes-no type questions can be tricky depending on that context.
Precisely. And other common things cashiers ask, highlighted in our sources, are those standard customer service checks like, did you find everything you were looking for? Or questions about loyalty programs, you hear this a lot. Do you have a rewards card? Or are you a member? And the sort of catch-all phrase, is that all for today?
And the really intriguing, maybe slightly alarming possibility that came up in that thread.
Yes. The one that made the original poster feel particularly awkward afterwards, being asked if they wanted to make a donation. Depending on the store or maybe the time of year, a cashier might be prompted to ask something like, would you like to donate $1 to whatever charity? Or maybe just, would you like to round up for charity? Saying yes to that by accident, thinking they were just confirming the price of their donut, well, that's a perfect example of how not quite understanding can lead to some unexpected outcomes.
Wow. Yeah, that really drives the point home, doesn't it? Okay, so beyond those potential curveballs, what are the standard everyday phrases and interactions you'll definitely encounter at the checkout?
Well, you'll usually start with a simple greeting, hello, or good morning, right? Then cashiers will often ask about bags. Especially now with environmental concerns, it's often, do you need a bag? Or sometimes specifying, do you need a paper bag?
Right, and you'll obviously need to know the total price.
Yes, they'll tell you the total. But if you need to ask before they scan everything, how much is this, is essential. And if you think the price on the shelf maybe seemed lower, you can always ask, is this on sale?
Okay. How do you handle talking about payment methods?
The cashier might ask how you plan to pay. Will you pay by cash or card? You can respond with, can I pay by card? You might specify debit or credit if needed. Or just generally ask, do you accept credit cards? Our sources list the common methods you'll see. Cash, obviously, that's banknotes and coins. Different types of bank cards, debit or credit, and increasingly contactless payment using your card or even your phone.
Okay, so the actual transaction, you know the total. What happens next?
They'll say something like, okay, that comes to amount dollars, or it's amount in total. When you hand over your money or your card, a simple, here you are, is perfectly polite. If you pay with cash and you're due money back, they'll say, here's your change. One source mentioned hearing, here's your exchange, but honestly, change is definitely the most common word for the money you get back.
Good to know. And you absolutely need proof you paid.
Absolutely. Always ask for the receipt. Can I have a receipt, please? That's a standard phrase. Sources sometimes mention sales slip or maybe bill, but receipt is the one everyone understands.
And then just to finish the whole interaction off.
A simple and friendly exchange usually works best. Thank you. Followed by, have a nice day, from both sides. Pretty standard stuff.
Right. So we've navigated finding things, the fitting rooms, paying. But what if you get home and realize something's wrong? Or maybe it's just not what you wanted after all. Taking something back, that's another whole scenario with its own language, isn't it?
It really is, and the sources provide some clear guidance on this process. It usually involves going to a specific place, like the customer service desk. Knowing the right language for returns and exchanges is pretty key to avoiding extra frustration.
What are some of the common reasons people need to return things, based on what the sources say?
Well, the list includes things like the item being broken, or maybe having a part missing. Or it's just not what you expected based on the description or the picture. Sometimes you just decide you don't actually need it after all. It could be a gift you don't want. Or perhaps most commonly for clothes, it just doesn't fit right, even after trying it on in the store.
Okay, so you have your reason, you're at the customer service desk. What are the key phrases you need?
You can state your purpose pretty directly. I'd like to return this item name, please. Problem. A slightly less formal way might be, could I return this, please?
That usually implies you're looking for either a refund or maybe an exchange. If you already know you want to swap it for something else, you can ask specifically, can I exchange this, please? And the staff might also ask you, do you want to exchange it for something else?
What do you absolutely positively need to have with you when you're trying to return something? This is super critical, and it comes up in all the sources about returns. The receipt. You almost always must have the receipt to prove you bought it there and when. Also, having the item in its original condition, so with the tag still on for clothing, or in its original box or bag that's typically required too.
Right. And what happens if you don't have the receipt? Say it was a gift or you paid cash and lost it.
Yeah, that's a key point the sources highlight. You likely won't get your cash back in that situation. Instead, they'll probably offer you store credit, like a gift card for that specific store. And don't be too surprised if they ask for some form of ID, maybe a driver's license or passport, especially when processing returns without a receipt or for more expensive items. It's often part of their policy.
Okay. Are there times when you just can't return something, no matter what?
Yes, definitely. And the sources warn about these conditions. If the item is missing its tags or the box, or it has obvious signs of wear and tear, they might not accept it back. Most stores also have a specific return period, often like 30 or maybe 90 days. Trying to return something after that time limit usually won't work. Also, things bought on heavy discount or marked as final sale are frequently non-returnable, although sometimes you might be able to exchange a damaged sale item. And one more thing smaller, independent stores often have stricter or just different return policies compared to the big chain stores. So it's worth checking if you're buying from somewhere small.
So the really core concepts here are take something back, meaning the action of returning it, and refund, which is specifically about getting your money back.
Exactly. Understanding those terms and, crucially, the conditions for returns is really vital.
We've covered the whole step-by-step process of buying and returning now, but there's quite a bit more general language and even some cultural concepts around shopping that our sources touched on, right?
There are, yeah. It's helpful just to know the names for different kinds of places you might shop. Our sources listed several common ones. There's the supermarket, obviously, mainly for food and household stuff. Then you have department stores, which sell a huge variety of goods, often spread over different floors. Independent stores are usually smaller, maybe more specialized. You've got markets, which could be outdoor stalls or inside a building, shopping malls or shopping centers. Those are the big buildings with lots of different stores inside. And then more specific places like a chemist or pharmacy for medicine and health things, and a bakery for bread and cakes.
Knowing the type of store definitely helps set your expectations. What about saving money? That's always a popular topic when it comes to shopping.
Oh, absolutely. The sources talk about different ways stores try to attract buyers and how shoppers look for good deals. You'll see signs for different kinds of sales. A clearance sale is usually when they're getting rid of old stock, maybe end-of-season stuff. A closing down sale means the whole store is shutting permanently, so prices might be very low. If you want to find good deals yourself, you can go bargain hunting, which just means actively looking for low prices. Or you can shop around. And that means visiting several different stores or maybe checking online to compare prices before you decide where to actually buy something.
And how do we talk about whether something is, cheap or expensive? What's the language for that?
Yeah, this kind of language comes up a lot in just casual chat about shopping. If something is really inexpensive for what it is, you might exclaim, "That's a bargain," or even "That's a steal." Like it's so cheap it almost feels wrong. If you feel you got good quality for the price you paid, you'd say, "It's good value for money."
Yeah.
On the other hand, if something costs more than you were expecting, you might say, "It's a bit pricey." If it seems clearly worth less than the asking price, you'd call it overpriced. And if you feel like you're being completely cheated on the price, the strong phrase is, "That's a ripoff."
Ooh, yeah. Those phrases definitely capture those different shopping feelings. And there are some kind of fun idioms about shopping habits too, aren't there?
Yes, language guides and conversational examples often include these. We make a distinction, for example, between doing shopping, which usually refers to the regular chore, like buying groceries or household necessities.
Right, like the weekly food shop.
Exactly. And going shopping, which sounds more like a planned activity or an outing, maybe going to the mall to buy clothes or look for gifts.
Makes sense.
If you just look at the displays in shop windows without actually planning to buy anything, that's called window shopping.
Mm.
If you spend a really long time shopping, maybe until you're exhausted, the expression is you shop till you drop.
I think I've done that a few times.
Haven't we all? Someone who shops excessively, maybe even compulsively, is sometimes called a shopaholic. A fun outing where you buy quite a lot of things, especially maybe new clothes or treats, that could be called a shopping spree. And sometimes people talk about buying things just to make themselves feel better, which is known informally as shopping therapy.
Interesting. And what about that sudden purchase you didn't plan at all?
Ah, that's known as an impulse buy. The sources suggest stores often cleverly place tempting little items near the checkout counter, specifically to encourage those.
Very clever. And finally, just to be clear, who are the main people we actually interact with when we're shopping?
The two key roles that come up consistently are the shop assistant, that's the person who helps you find things out on the shop floor, and the cashier, who is the person you pay at the checkout or till.
Wow, okay, we really did cover a lot there. A proper deep dive into the world of shopping in English, from, finding specific items and trying on clothes, all the way through navigating the checkout and even handling returns, plus that broader language of sales and habits. Knowing these phrases and understanding the common scenarios, it really does equip you, doesn't it? Makes you feel much more confident heading out on your next shopping trip.
It absolutely makes a difference. And, bringing it right back to that moment we started with the donut at the checkout. Remember how confusing just saying yes could potentially be? One of the starkest possibilities that came up in that online discussion was that the cashier might have been asking if you wanted to make a donation. Accidentally agreeing to donate money because you didn't quite understand the question, well, it highlights something really, really important.
That even when you have all the right vocabulary, a key insight is that sometimes you still won't understand perfectly. Is that it?
Precisely. While having those key phrases is incredibly powerful, knowing what to do when you don't understand is just as crucial. Maybe even more so, actually, for avoiding those awkward or unintended outcomes. Being able to politely say, "I'm sorry, I don't understand," or maybe asking for clarification, like, "Could you please repeat that?" Or perhaps, "Could you say that again more slowly?" That's such a valuable skill in any language learning situation, but especially in those quick interactions like at a checkout. It shows you're engaged, you're trying, and it helps prevent those misunderstandings before they happen.
That is a fantastic point to end on. It really is okay to ask for help, isn't it? Whether that's finding something on a shelf, understanding a sign, or just clarifying a question at the register. Keep practicing these phrases. Definitely use description when you need to. And yeah, don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Happy shopping, everyone.